Casino. It's March 23rd, 2019. It's 2 p.m. Now 2:09. You can do a roll call. Chris Beecher, present. Derek Watchman Moore.
Present.
Sean McCabe.
I'm here.
Frankie Lee.
Present.
And Carrie Begay.
Present.
Okay, we got all 5 members present in person, and that constitutes a quorum. If we could have, Doreen, would you like to offer our invocation, please?
Heavenly Father, thank you for getting us together here today. We pray that you will be with us as we go forward in planning for our meeting and for our families that are in need of help. Thank you for the board members that are here, the branch chiefs, the staff, also our visitors. We just give this meeting in your hands, and may we have a successful meeting and help us to respect one another, to speak to each other the way we want to be speak to. We just leave this whole meeting in your hands, Lord, that you will guide us through and that you will help us to make progress. As we met this morning, our leaders want progress. So do we. We need to show that out there and be transparent. Lord, we just ask that you guide us. You're the one that gave us this job to be here for our families. Give us your wisdom. Give us your guidance. Provide us with your knowledge. Not our own, but your knowledge, your wisdom. And we just bring this whole meeting in your hands, and we just give it to you and lift. I lift all these in attendance in your hands and to you, Lord. I just thank you for all that you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. On to announcements. Do we have any announcements we need to make before we start?
Addition to the agenda. But
Okay, let's start. Well, that one's already on here, so I think we're good.
okay.
But okay, on to item number 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. Obviously, we have Council Delegate Brown here. I'd like to thank you for being here with us. NHA staff, and Dr. Yeoman, thank you for being here with us, and all of our other guests. So, thank you. And if I could get a motion to review the agenda, please.
Motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's motion by Commissioner Begay, seconded by Commissioner McCabe to review the agenda. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. So we're reviewing the agenda. Madam Vice Chair would like to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Motion to move 3 resolutions up to the front of the agenda. Number 3, Resolution NHA-4874-2019. Number 15, Resolution NHA-4886-2019. And finally, Mr. Chair, number 20, Resolution NHA-
21?
Oh, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong. 21, Mr. Chair, sorry about that. 21, Resolution NHA-4892-2019.
Okay, if there's a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Madam Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner McCabe to move the resolutions mentioned, the 3 up to the front, as a matter of time and efficiency for our visiting officials and guests.
Yes.
And all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, you have it so ordered. Need a motion to adopt the agenda as stated, as amended.
Motion.
Motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's motion by Commissioner McCabe, second by Commissioner Begay to adopt the agenda as stated and amended. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, you have it, so ordered. And the minutes have previously been distributed. If I can get a motion to review and adopt the minutes.
Mr. Chair, motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's motion by Madam Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Begay to review and adopt the minutes as just previously distributed. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, you have it, so ordered. On to NHA reports. Number 1, NHA executive report. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Dewey.
Mr. Chairman, under tab 2, you have my written report for the month. If I could go through new initiatives, the last 2 pages of that in executive session.
Okay.
As is customary. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'm happy to address those at this time.
Seeing none? All right. With regards to the operations report, Mr. Dwayne Wasetta.
I'll be sitting in for it.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Board and Board Chair. My name is Ernest Franklin. Wasetta had they wanted to to deal with, so we went ahead and went through his report.
Okay.
We're going to do that. We have under tab 3 the Chief Operation Officer's report, and I'll go through the bullets on part 2, significant work that's been done. In the 2019 Indian Housing Plan, we participated in a kickoff meeting with WH Pacific on the Bennett Freeze Economic Development Plan. We have got the final scope and final milestones have been complete, so we're ready to move into implementation on that project. We've conducted 2 field visits to the Navajo Housing Management and Maintenance offices to meet with the tenant in regard of failed housing inspections. During the visit, we met with the tenant, explained the rental responsibilities to possibly housing cleanup and pickup. It's mainly just a cleanup and pickup situation out there. On May 1st, participated in the pre-construction of the Sowers construction regarding Fort Defiance modernization. That project is well on its way, and we have 37 units that are being mobilized or modernized, and the contractor has mobilized, established site control, and has started the selective demolition. And we got our first pay app, and that's been the process right now. And March 3rd, there was a meeting held with Mr. Harold Riley, or there was a assistance to request for Mr. Harold Riley of the BIA Regional Branch of Roads, updates on the design submitted to BIA. As the time of this report, there has been no response back, but NHA has proceeded to negotiate with Ariso Construction on a GMP, and that GMP has been submitted for approval. We're going to go with that project until we are completed. March 4th to the 7th, we had the procurement staff create 11 regional requests for proposals for street improvements, new developments, design or demo rebuild for 1937 units, and also we have major repair projects posted on the website. So those are all in the process. We are going to be receiving the responses by the end of this month, so we'll be proceeding with the second phase of that RFP. It's a two-phase process where we look at the qualifications, and then we select a qualified entity, and then we move into scope and get a design and move forward with those projects. Okay, and then on March 6th, we participated in the cost negotiations with Lamb Construction on Bird Springs and Whippoorwill. Those were previously advertised. We are now moving into pre-construction contracts. Those are being drawn up, and they'll be forwarded to the CEO for signature. And then March 8th, we participated with Mr. Dave McDonald, IHS office, We wanted to see how we could receive assistance on some of the infrastructure projects that we're going through, sewer, like doing new sewer lagoons, increasing the expansion of existing sewer lagoons, and then doing some sewer line extensions. And at the end of the meeting, we were pretty much told that they are overworked and understaffed, so to speak. So they said we can't really assist us at that time, but we are still going to proceed with those projects because it affects our housing development that's going to be put out there. Okay, and then on March 12th, we participated in a meeting regarding the hog development. At the conclusion of the meeting, NTOA requested NHA to resubmit documents to support the new phase of the housing project. We are doing there's 3 issues that we're dealing with right now. Is to increase the water capacity within that site, to bring in new power resources into the site, and then also to get access into the site. So those 3, we're on our way. We've gotten estimates from NTOA on the water expansion and also on the power line expansion. We're still in negotiations on obtaining land so that we can get access into the site. That's well on its way. Okay, that pretty much goes through that.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, sure.
If I could go back to the meeting with Indian Health Service. Which projects are we talking about?
We have 2 projects over in Kaibito that needs the Biha one needs a new water line. That subdivision was under a private pumping system, water pumping system, and we've determined that pumping system has inadequate supply of water to the residents there. And as you know, we just recently acquired Biha one. So we've been in talks with NTOA on increasing the water capacity. It goes, and there's a water line. There's a 4-inch water line that runs on the north side of that development. So we traced it all the way back, and we can bring in a 6-inch water line to increase the capacity of that water system. So that's one of the projects. We also have the 36 modular development that's happening just right over on the west side of that from Biha one. And that project, we're currently on a sewer. We're going to be putting a sewer lift station, but we don't want to continue. NTOA has refused to do the operation and maintenance of that sewer lift station. So what we did is we examined the situation, and we determined that we can run a sewer line, a sewer main across the road, and then along the north side of the road down to an existing sewer line that's running, I'd say about 2,000 feet. As far as linear feet goes, and then we're going to have to increase the there's an existing treatment pond that sits just to the north side there. We want to increase that and put a treatment pond right next to it so that we can just increase the capacity of that system.
And is that the IHS is saying we can't help you?
Yeah, I just said we're just understaffed right now. And they have a tremendous amount of work that's been put on them.
Another question. So, well, maybe a comment then a question. So it's unfortunate that our communities and where our housing development is located, that we have to rely on sewer lagoons. It takes up a lot of land. Mm-hmm. You know, where anywhere else in the country they have wastewater treatment systems. And as an environmental person, you know, the septic tanks and lagoons are environmental hazards as it is, and so it seems like Indian Health Services is a vital partner because they do receive funding specifically for water and safe drinking water and so forth. But I do know that they rely on the priority of the tribe, and the priority of the tribe is water lines into scattered site areas, you know, and bathroom additions. I don't know if that priority is changed or needs to be revisited, but I'm hopeful, Mr. Chair, that in this partnership effort and with community development here, that we really think about what community development means in the future, because to me it should be without lagoons and septic tanks. Mr. Chair.
Have we looked at essentially going up to the next highest level of IHS and saying, this is something that we understand that you are short on hours and people, and potentially funds, I guess, I'm not sure, but have we looked at that approach? Is that a possibility, or is this something that we can ask our tribal leaders, especially the ones in the area, and to help us advocate for this attention?
Well, this was just our essential meeting, but we can pursue, you know, going up higher and trying to make our case that way.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair is correct. They have a priority, and they've got 3,500 people waiting for water to individual sites. And they are the chief beneficiary of the tribe's citizen fund money. So he said they've got more money than they can use right now. So it's not a funding issue, it's a manpower issue.
Are we allowed to help with finding solutions? Yeah.
Spending down their money?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we're pursuing is we're going to be, we told our grants writer to contact the Navajo Nation and see if we can get the shape files to determine where all this new development is going to happen and see how we can use that as an opportunity to build additional houses within those areas.
Okay.
So we're still working on that.
Yeah, other places I've worked with IHS, and it seemed as long as your designs went through the IHS review process and they approved of it, and then you used a contractor that they approved of, that they would pay for the addition to the system, the additional work done, you know, because it just meets meet the requirements for maintenance. You might want to check on that.
We can submit our designs. Well, we are going to submit our designs to IHS because we have to get the permits that's required from them.
So ordinarily, I found that those agencies, they won't accept continued maintenance on the systems if you've done unapproved work on them. So they'll just leave it in our hands to take that over.
So it seems at this point that we're like playing the role of IHS now, that we have to build these systems so that we turn it over for NTUA for operation and maintenance. That's kind of like that for almost like 4 of our other projects that are happening that way. We have one over in Rock Springs that we're going to be building a sewer lagoon on there. We have Coachule Lake that we just found out we're going to have to do some infrastructure work on that so we can expand the housing situation out there. And then we also have the Windy Rock apartments. That was one of the main things that we wanted to talk to them about, is how can we assist in implementing a new well into the system so that we can increase the water load for Windy Rock, because they've told us that the water capacity and the water quality has gone down. And so that's kind of one of the things that we really wanted to talk to them about. We're now in that process of doing that additional work so that we can make our houses more feasible.
Further comments or questions?
Mr. Chair.
Madam Vice Chair.
So on that note, are you saying that the Windy Rock housing project that we broke ground for is on hold because we have no water in the Windy Rock area?
It's not on hold. We're going to, right now we're studying the hydrology studies that are going to happen.
Okay.
So it's part of the scope of work. So we are going to do the hydrology studies. We're going to make sure that that system works. If we have to do additional tanks and put pumping systems to pressurize the system, that's pretty much what we're going to do.
Oh, so Mr. Chair, so we're expanding the line, but we're not drilling a new well for NTUA?
Well, that's another thing that we're going to be, like I said, we're going to do a whole design analysis. We're going to partner with NTUA and do a design analysis on the whole system to see how we can best provide water to that development site.
That includes groundwater hydrology?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I guess again, just forward thinking, and we have all this positive energy here today, it just seems like it's not just for NHA's new and proposed housing project of how many, 60 units or whatever that amount is, but development in the Windy Rock area. To me, I think that's a tribal matter, and we're partners to assist in that larger planning effort, and I'm looking, I get eyes in the back of my head. You know, we take advantage of esteemed guests and, you know, the big role that you have, and we're hopeful that this partnership means partnership. Yeah. Okay, just bringing that up, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And
Mr. Ducal.
Mr. Chairman, IHS mentioned they were about to string a water line out to, say, Bonito and beyond, kind of to where NDOT is, in that area. And they were surprised that we were building at Winter Rock, and how does all this come together? So right now, we have authorization to do 30 units, as long as they're one
They're
story.
one story.
But if we want to do 60 units, 2-story, we got to upgrade with, you've got to do the pressure and so on. So all of these things, you're right, have to be, you know, we have to plan them together.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, so next page of the report, we have just a brief, we have some tables there, and that just has to do with the scattered sites. We have 4 reviewed for the Navajo Housing Authority. None has been reviewed for this month for Southwest Indian Foundation. And the next table there has all the construction projects, or the labor report from the construction projects. In the first quarter, we had, this is all coming from our labor compliance officer. So she reported 632 Navajos were hired during that first quarter. Second quarter, 537. Mr. Waseda wanted me to mention that when we were doing over $100 million worth of projects, we reached 1,600 Navajo workers that were employed at that time. So he just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. And going on to the next table, were some modernization projects.
That's 1,100 employees we hired in 2 quarters?
Yeah, 2 quarters.
Subcontractors.
Yeah.
They're from the general and the subcontractors. Some general contractors hire their own labor, and then the other ones are from subcontractors.
How many are Navajo?
That's Navajo.
Those are all Navajo.
That's all Navajo, yeah.
Do we have any type of press release that we've put out that kind of state how we're contributing in that respect?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do that. It's the information that was, Dwayne was showing me that information earlier, so I asked him to forward it to me. We're thinking of asking Carolyn Cook to update us on the procurement efforts to see what the economic impact is on Navajo preference and other information. We're thinking of putting it in the quarterly newsletter too.
I think it'd be great information. It really kind of shows the power of being able to keep this local, keep the labor force local, and get them working across the Navajo Nation. But it's definitely something that we put out there so people see such a positive aspect of what we're doing.
What would you say the average salary is?
Average salary is about, I'd say about $25 an hour.
So 50 a year
Yeah, about 50 a year.
times 11.
It all depends on, yeah, it goes from the labor, you know, they're getting about $18 an hour all the way to like $36 an hour for the trades.
So that's, let's see, 1,100. That's $55 million we put in the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Delegate Brown.
Press release.
And that's just labor. We didn't even talk about taxes yet.
Right.
Taxes on materials, right?
Yeah. Okay, so that goes into the next table. We have modernization projects. We have a balance of $600,000 in modernization projects. We expect to have that all paid out by the end of this month. That's the last payments of these projects. We have several projects that are coming to an end. That'll be the completion of 200 modernization projects. We have infrastructure streets there. We have a balance of $630,000. That's going to also be paid out. That's also closed out. We finished that project. And then we have new development. We have a balance of $5.7 million. That's still on its way. We're still paying that out. We're probably going to pay out about a little over $1 million on that balance this month. And that amount will increase because now we're getting into fair weather. Okay, the next table is all the procurement that's been done. as we talked, and I mentioned that before, all the RFPs that went out, we have 2 for 70-unit interior repairs, 160 units for exterior repairs, and then we have the modernization. We have Chilchimbato that's on the agenda today. We have Kari'ai that was that's under procurement right now. We should have that before the board next month, so we'll be able to award that. And then what's being advertised now is Chinle 1203, and then that's going to be a demo rebuild. That's 107 units. And then we have, of course, Hawk, which is Bluestone. That's going to be in the process there. Rock Springs, Window Rock, Forest Lake, Lichi, Lakachikai, and then the Rue Maynard property. Those are going to be all new development. And then we have the transitional group homes. Whippoorwill has been completed. We're going through, like I said before, we are going into a pre-construction contract to start the selective demo and to get the designs and specifications completed so that we can move into full construction.
What's the timeline on that? And then over to Commissioner Williams.
The timeline on that is we are, I didn't bring up my I have it all on Gantt charts, but it's usually a 12-month process once we get into construction. So say we get into construction in April, probably mid-May, we'll get into main construction, so we'll be done 12 months from there.
And that's for the remodel, or the, I guess,
yeah.
renovation?
No, actually for this one, because of the extent of the work, we're probably going to do like 8 months.
Okay.
So 8 months from May of this year.
What IHP year are those?
There's going to be and they're going to be completed in 2020 IHP.
But they were in 2017?
They were in 2017.
Okay.
Question on the Newcomb project? That's a rental mod project, right, in Newcomb? Is that completed? And
Newcomb?
yeah.
Oh, that's completed. We're going to have an open house this coming Tuesday, was it?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I drive by there a lot and I see that they're completed. And
Yeah, those are
looking
regular
forward.
stick built. Yeah, that's
Okay.
the open house. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, everybody's been eyeing those and wanting to know.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Answered my question. Good deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bird Springs. Bird Springs?
Yep, you didn't mention that yet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then, so Bird Springs is also one of the ones that went through the advertising process. And we are going to enter into a pre-construction contract, meaning that we're going to do all the selective demo, secure the site, and move in and get the design drawings complete. So we should have, and that's also about a 6 to 8 month project, because there's not that, we're going to have to add, on that project, we're going to have to add a storage tank and a pumping system, because there's just none, that building needs a sprinkling system, and we don't have the demand or the pressure in that area. So the only way to solve that problem is to put a storage tank with a pumping system that will give us a 1 hour fire rating on that facility.
And that brings us up to code for the state.
Yes, they'll bring us up to code with the nomination and with the state.
All right.
Okay. And so the next ones are just highlights of construction division. We have the low income tax credits that we submitted the application. I think it was mentioned at the last meeting. And from what I hear, we got pretty much high scores on that. So we are pretty much going to, we're looking forward to that new funding source. Right now, what we're doing is we're setting up projects so that we can, and we're going to go and finish up the designs so that when we actually get the approval letter, we'll be ready to hit the ground running there. And then we have, then I already mentioned the modernization projects. Like I said, all those projects there that are mentioned are going to be completed, and we have MAO documents for 75% of those units. We're going to be pursuing that. We are in the final, on the rest, we are in final inspection, and then we'll be we're looking to close those out. The UFAS project, we have 14 units there. The procurement package has been completed and going through signatures, so we'll be able to we'll start advertising that project. New development, we have scattered site. We have 5 scattered sites that are in the procurement process right now. We have and then we have 14 scattered sites in Arizona in final stages. We have 11 Bennett Freeze. Actually, we have, that's the wrong number there. We have 15 that are going into procurement there. And then we have 28 scatter sites that are going through the final planning stages, which will be moving into advertisement, meaning that we're still getting the release of funds. Once we have the release of funds, then we start advertising. And then we have, of course, we have the development over in Rock Springs. We are in the final stages of obtaining the land withdrawal for the additional sewer lagoon that's going to be required. Where the 15 units are going to go, we already have site control that's already in our property. So the bulk of the work on that project is going to be to establish a new sewer lagoon out there to increase that facility for that community. The Hawk site, as I mentioned before, out there's 3 things that we're pursuing. We're moving forward with the water and sewer capacity, the increase in capacity of the existing water sewer systems, and then we're still in negotiations on getting the access to that site. But we are in the process of getting a design build contract for that entity. So we do have access on the north side, which is tribal trust lands. We can come in from that side if anything. So that shouldn't stop us from developing that area. Window Rock Apartments, like I said, we went to IHS, and we would want to see if we can do a pumping system, but now we're saying that we're going to go ahead and do a water system analysis and see what we're going to do and which direction we're going to take. The street projects, Tuba City, like I said, Tuba City Streets, we are in the process of getting that contract over the GMP over to Mr. Dougal here, and then once he signs it, we'll sign an NTP. Which
Signed yesterday.
Oh, signed yesterday.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're probably going to be issuing an NTP next week.
To Arviso.
Yep, to Arviso Construction. And then on the next page here, Maintenance Division. I don't know, you have more information on that?
It looks all there.
Okay.
Madam Vice Chair.
I have a question on that street project.
Okay.
Hopefully it's clear to not only our council delegate there, but others that we only own like 1/10 of the road and the rest of it is BIA. Is there a payback process in this, or are we just contributing to the cause?
To the greater good.
Madam Vice Chair, it's correct. This contract being referred to is only for 1,000 feet. There is a mile that has to be done beyond that. We're negotiating with NECA, we're negotiating with the BIA, with the council delegate, to let them know that we don't have right of way, but we will do the work anyway, and if BIA comes and stops us, we'll deal with that issue at that time. So we're actually going to proceed and do it according to BIA standards and allow them to stop the project rather than wait for them to approve the project, which is a much longer process. There is no payback. Mr. So's promised there'll be no payback.
So the source of funds is the street allocations in the budget?
The source of funds is non-program
Is it
income.
non-program income?
Right, because it is not, we don't have site control, we don't have right of way.
How much is the cost again?
For the 1,100, it's 1,100 feet, by the way.
Okay.
For the 1,100 feet, it's going to cost us $800,000 to do.
For the rest of it.
For the rest of it, it's the general rule of thumb is for every mile of road you do, according to BIA specs, it's $2 million.
So we can expect 2 million?
That's pretty much what we're going to be asking for.
Right. Thank you for the recognition.
Okay, so Okay, it says maintenance field offices were able to repair and turn over 50 units. Is that correct?
59.
59 units. And
Can I ask a question based on that? So our starting number in December when we initiated this, how many homes at this point have we turned into getting people in there?
As for actually occupying them, I don't have those numbers because that's underneath Housing Management Division.
Okay.
But I do know that we've turned over, as of Friday, 164. Am I correct if I remember? But I know we're at 61 units this month, over 59 for last month. So.
Do you have a total number?
Yeah, let me
It's around
pull it up here real
165.
quick. Shouldn't have shut this thing down. Actually, Christian, you gave it to the Navi. Do we have that number?
The book, yeah.
What tab you think?
Tab 1.
Last page.
Last page?
What tab is it, Christian?
We can get back to the
Last page.
Last page of tab 1.
it's flipped over.
Tab 1, last page.
I'm trying to figure out where. Last page, okay.
Isn't that it?
No, that's Lux.
Just put it back
There
there.
we go. So, no, we didn't put it in here, did we? That total is not on that for some reason. Come on. Just working on these numbers. Let's see. Turn over here to date. Year to date, since the 10th of December, we've turned over 160 units.
Okay. That's good work. And we had mentioned to the council delegates earlier today, we're still on target for July.
For the end, yes. Some of the shops may extend beyond the April and May deadline because of modernization units that were turned back over to the MAO. Some of those tenants were that were relocated out of those projects when they started them are contractually allowed to move back into their units, and so they'll be vacating public rental units. And so once those are vacant, our rate might go back up again, but you know, because they've only been in there for a year or so, it should
Fast turn.
be fast turnaround to get those back ready again. So
All right.
yeah.
Okay. Next bullet point there is the hiring of 180 maintenance temporary staff to address the vacant units across the Navajo Nation. NHA has hired additional 44 temporary staffing this month.
Right.
Okay. And then the next bullet item is the HDS, the housing development system. The housing development continues to work with the HDS representatives and NHA Treasury Department staff to and provide work orders and inspection forms to HDS. They have been creating and adopting inspections and work orders into HDS mobile app to meet NHA needs. 7 maintenance staff were scheduled to attend the HDS training in Denver late March, and I think that's how we
We went last week. That's excellent.
Okay. So the next item there is the Housing Management Division. The Housing Management Division completed 96 client move-ins for the month of February, established a transition plan for the waitlist review to be returned back to the Housing Maintenance Office, continue and draft vacancy and reoccupancy plan to be presented at the March board meeting. The president will report format. So that ends the other two. We have number 2, we have the budget and planning and administration.
Let me stop you there real quick.
Okay.
Just a quick question. So when you mentioned 160 homes turned over, you said that there's another metric and that's occupied? So of the 160 turned over, how many occupied? All of it to date, or now that we're in the HOA?
I don't have that information.
Yeah, Heather has that.
Those are what we've only maintenance has turned over. So then they turned over an additional 200 since.
Yeah, we turned over 125 units.
So those are classified as ready for occupancy as well. And most of those have already been occupied as of Friday. There are 91 units ready for occupancy that are in some process of being assigned and accepted and moved into across 15 management offices.
So the term is occupied?
RFO, ready for occupancy.
RFO, ready for
Yeah.
occupancy.
So when Mr. Waleto's done with a unit, they turn it over to the housing office, and they've got to select a client.
They go through their wait list.
Yep.
And the same thing goes with CSD. Once we get done with the modernization, we turn it over to the housing management
So when
office.
it reaches the RFO stage to occupied, the O stage, how much, isn't it like a 3-day turnaround? If you go down your wait list and...
It should be a very short period of time because we're worried about those units being vandalized after they're not worked on any longer. I think they are struggling to find clients. They are waiting to hear back from some people. Some people have disconnected phones, so it's not quite as seamless as we would like. But Heather's doing her best.
So we still have a lot of occupied units, but ready to be occupied.
Right.
Are units ready to be occupied, but not quite, because we don't have clients?
Right.
Okay.
Or they're working with the clients.
Working with the clients.
I don't see any advertisements
Yeah.
online for application drives. Anybody can speak to that?
Yep.
Currently, we're working with Heather in the Housing Management Office to plan a huge housing application drive coordination with the 15 housing management offices to do a week-long activity to advertise on the radio and in the newspapers to spur the wait list. So we have a goal Heather wanted to do twice the number of people that are on the wait list currently. That's our goal for the application drive. So we're expecting to create the marketing campaign with all the materials by next week, a couple weeks, and begin to do that.
That's it. That concludes my report.
All right, appreciate that. Any further questions or comments from the commissioners? Seeing none? We'll go on to the next report.
Matilda was sitting in for Heather right now.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Duncan, excuse me.
Is it Heather Duncan?
No, I think it's CAO.
Oh, well, I've got
Terry?
some questions.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
This is maintenance question. The need for the development coordinators. You got 3 vacant positions.
Yes.
Are those being advertised at all?
Not at the moment.
When are those projects supposed to begin, that those 3 would be overseeing, the 8 projects?
Well, we're having our pre-bid meetings starting next week. We have 2 next week and 1 the following week. And they would probably be under contract mid-April. Right now, we just have the 2 development coordinators who will be handling those until we can go and be allowed to go and advertise for fill those other positions.
How long have you needed those positions to be filled?
Well, they've been vacant 4 years.
4 years?
Right.
I wouldn't think they'd be filled then anytime soon. What impact will that have on trying to get these 8 projects done?
A lot. It'll make it, we'll have to depend more on the contractor, but, you know, we're just gonna have to spend more time in the field, you know, and less in our office, so.
The two coordinators?
The 2 and myself, yes.
Okay. Is that gonna be safe?
I won't see my house very much.
What alternatives do you have?
Unless I can get staff from DCSD that contribute, or I'll have to pull my maintenance supervisors who don't have as much construction-based knowledge. They have maintenance-based, but construction and maintenance, while the same trades, getting out there and doing mid-roof inspections or pre-cover up on the siding or whatever, if they uncover something that needs to be fixed, not all of them have that experience to be able to go out there and do that. Plus, they're also managing the 160, 180 temporaries as well as their permanent staff, so they would be stretched as well. But on a day by day, we could go and say, can you retask yourself one day and go out and inspect this prior to them doing any other work? But it's still going to be a lot of work for too few people. So I believe it would suffer if we don't fill these positions.
How long could the projects run until they're completed?
The ones that are currently out for advertisement, those are all, they're no later than September 13th of 2019. So they have, because the numbers are small enough that they can get the work done before the end of the fiscal year. However, the vacant HO programs or housing projects, which we're now working on getting the RFPs out, those will run for a year. So there'll be a carryover into the next year.
So you think with operations losing 27 people to the buyout, you're going to still have people available that could move over to help you from construction?
I don't see it.
Another question is, you put down here that staff are still using their personal cell phones to do NHA business. I thought that was going to be...
That's through IT, and I haven't heard anything from IT on cell phones.
Do you recall when we talked about that?
November?
Okay. Then Ernest, I got a question. This redesign at Hoke, the 30-unit development, is that just for the access road, or what is that about in your report here?
The redesign for that project is we're having the same problem. Remember I said that we're going to have to increase the water capacity. So right now, if we want to move this project with 30 units, they told us that we're going to have to put those units at a single story, all 30. We were going to originally put apartment complexes there, but because of the water capacity at this point in time, they said you guys can do 30 units, but it has to be single story. So that's going to be the redesign, because they were originally designed for apartment complexes. So we're going to have to redesign that area right there.
Is that Hawk?
That's on Hawk, and also in
Lindrock?
Do you have any projects that are sliding or getting behind schedule at all?
We have a couple of projects that are kind of get delayed a little bit because we're running into some archaeological issues, archaeological clearances. But we we've met with several people that we can resolve that issue. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
That's all I have.
All right. On to the next report, please. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I guess I'm wondering about these three development coordinator positions. You have 27, not sure where you got the number, but we have 27 folks in your division that have taken the buyout. So,
Not in my division, I think that's NHA-wide, isn't it?
No, 42 NHA.
42, so within,
42 NHA wide, 27 in operations.
27 in operations, okay, so there should be some cost savings there. I'm not sure why we're not filling these positions, or is there an issue with HR, or why is it that we're not filling them?
Madam Vice Chair, we have a report from the HR director.
Okay, so all that's in there?
Yes.
Okay.
if I could, I know that part of this stems from when we were looking at the realignment, reorganization, and so we weren't filling those positions until there was a resolution approving that, but that hasn't happened. So, because two of those development coordinators, we were actually going to reclassify as senior development coordinators, and then reclassify one of those development coordinators to a maintenance technician and transfer that to Theroux, which is understaffed maintenance-wise. So if I had the four, the two seniors and two, but that's simply a reclassification process that, according to policy, that would be something the CEO could do.
With regards to that, you've got these positions, you said 4 years they've been vacant?
Yeah, as far as I can recall, because when I left, there was Gilbert Naboya and Prudence were the only two, so.
When's the last time it was advertised?
Gosh, I don't think they ever were, because back when I was still here in charge of major repairs, there was a unofficial hiring freeze by the previous CEOs and CFOs and whatnot, and we just were never allowed to hire those positions.
So it's more like, I guess, just to point out, it's more like they just never were advertised, and that's really the reason they're not filled up right now.
Correct, because we were never allowed to advertise for
a restructure, a reorganization, or you know,
right.
whatever.
We've been in limbo for a while now.
Okay. What's the possibility of bringing on people temporarily to fill those and potentially moving them into a permanent position?
It's always a possibility. Just the requirements for the position are pretty stringent.
Well, I think with NGS and all the other aspects of people, we might be able to, this might be a good time to see if we can put a fishing pole into the water and see if anything is possible. But, you know, we've had this issue with the legal department too, as well as like we just never advertised for it, so it nobody ever applied. And it makes sense in one sense, but in many other ways it doesn't. So I think that we might look at those just as a suggestion as an organization. If we can bring on somebody temporarily to make sure that we're A, being safe, but B, filling the role and potentially even creating more jobs if we find the right people, that might be a solution to, instead of overtaxing the two of you in the field, we might have some real good candidates coming from different areas. I think the other aspect I would look at is the temporary employees that we're working with, and see if anybody in those particular areas might have qualifications. They're already working for us. There might be a potential there where maybe they already have a really strong background that would meet the stringent qualifications. So just throw that out there.
Mr. Chair, I got to let me have a little comment on that. As far as CSD is concerned, we're losing all our senior staff. So we lost our supervisor for the survey department, for the realty department, for our planning department, and also from our construction management department. So what we've done is I've made sure that all the people that were leaving had a successor, and I'm working with HR right now to get that transfer into and try to establish them as permanent people, because they've been there for quite a while, and we're hoping that we will make that full smooth transition. But But by doing that, the positions that they previously hired are now vacant. So now I'll be down to 2 project managers, and then I need those 3 positions are going to be hired. So we're working with HR on that so that we can get those positions filled out and continue to get these projects, because we're looking at over $100,000 worth of work that we're advertising.
100 million.
100 million. Yeah, 100 million. So that's going to be a tremendous tax on just 2 project managers.
Right, I think right now is a good time to recognize we're in a building mode, we're growing, we've got work out there, and I think that's the communications aspect. I think as an organization, we need to make sure we put it out there and say, look, there's opportunity here, and show that we're investing in the Navajo people too. So that's my thoughts.
Are you losing a licensed surveyor?
We're losing a licensed surveyor and a licensed engineer.
How many years' experience has the surveyor got?
He has about
the book.
about 40 years of experience.
And the engineer?
And the engineer has about 30.
It's hard to get comparable people back in with that kind of experience.
But we do have a license.
We have another license, yeah,
We do have another license surveyor.
that's replacing. He doesn't have that much experience. I mean, he's about half the experience that are the one we're losing.
Well, he's going to get some, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
No engineer.
No engineer.
Okay.
any further questions? Comments? Madam Vice Chair?
So, my question would be whether or not we need to source the expertise out. We find, instead of hiring full-time employees, we contract the experts that we need.
Yes.
Is that a possibility?
That is a real possibility. We do have professional service contracts that, what do you call, task-based contracts where we obtain professional engineers and inspectors to help us administer the work.
I think another, I guess, add-on to that would be if we do those type of sourcings and if we have identified people in particular that might want to advance up into this level, bring that into the contract somehow, that we've got somebody training with these people, learning and mentoring and getting that knowledge base up. And I think as a board too, we'd be willing to entertain scholarships for our own people for particular type of positions, that when they get in there, we can send them out and get them certifications that they need and the training they need. Because this is a kind of a temporary measure to source out like that. But if we've got the work and we can train people and they're willing to do it, great. If they're coming from a different area, great. But let's really kind of concentrate and say, if we're going to need these things for the long haul, let's train the people that want to do it. If we go in-house and say, is anybody interested in pursuing this particular avenue and qualify them, I think that we could grow our people in-house too. Because it's the same, at some point, even the people right now who are right in the middle of their career are going to retire. And so it's this continual feeder process that we need to make sure that the people that want to move up within the organization have that opportunity and that we're encouraging it. And it's just a matter of coming up with a plan on how to best do that. But if we need to source and it keeps everybody safe, then we got to source. But at the same point, let's make sure we give every opportunity to create the talent in-house, because we all started somewhere.
Yeah.
Chairman, it's more difficult with surveyors and engineers because there's a 4-year training requirement before they can take their license, and they have to do their training underneath a licensed professional to begin with. And if we don't have a licensed engineer in place, we can't train enough younger engineers to attain that PE certification.
Has anybody been working under the engineer at this point?
As far as the surveyor, we do have an individual that has been training under our professional surveyor that's leaving.
How far are they from licensure?
They are very close to getting a license. So we should be able to mentor him into that position now. He's been with us for about 2 years now, and he's been 3 years actually. So he'll be the one, and then he'll be training under the next licensed surveyor that we'll have. So we had a benefit of having 2 surveyors, licensed surveyors in that department.
How about the engineer?
The engineer, we really don't have anybody there, but I think the idea that the chairman said is to, to have a, because we used to do that at the tribe. When I used to work for the tribe a long time ago, we used to hire engineers, civil engineers, and they used to work. We used to have somebody mentor under there so that they have the experience to get to obtain their license down the line. But unfortunately, some of them leave because of higher pay.
Well, I see it as an opportunity to help educate our workforce, even if we have to bring people in. Obviously people are leaving, but I think we have an opportunity here to also help train the next generation of NHA employees and give back and let them advance into the areas that they want to advance into, and support that. So I think that we have opportunities here as well. Any further questions? Comments?
One
None?
comment.
Okay, go ahead.
We still lack housing for professionals that we're trying to bring.
Yeah.
Trying to get an engineer to come in at a lower pay grade is going to be tough. And then bringing in a young one that's out of school, they're all going to have to live in Gallup and drive all the time if they want to do that. So it's tough to overcome the professional accommodations.
I think as we're moving forward too, I think that you have to factor that into how we're, opening up housing. That we'll want to make sure that some of those positions could be for the in-house people that we're bringing in.
Yep.
Okay. Who's up next?
Mr. Chairman, we don't have Ms. Duncan here today, unfortunately, but we can answer questions. Ms. Claus here, and she can answer questions if there are any on her report.
Okay. You say Ms. Claw?
Yes.
Okay.
It's over.
I know. I'm like, oh, there you are. Okay. All right. Any questions as to the Duncan report? Seeing none.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I guess just to speak to the occupancy question. So you're getting units ready for moving from maintenance or operations. What is your take on this transition and how quick it's happening? And if you need additional assistance other than this drive, the application drive, you think that's the best answer? Mr. Chair.
The move-in report that we have is a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We moved in 53 families for March to Friday. So before that, in February, there was a move-in of 98 families.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Ms. Duncan is tracking it beginning August to current. So far we've moved in 248 families.
That's very good. Yeah, that's very good. Well, thank you for those numbers. Yeah, good to have.
Thank you. All right, and who you got next there?
Mr. Chairman, again, Ms. Cook was unavailable today. We do have Ms. Rowenhaus here to answer questions for the CEO, the acting CEO.
Okay. And we had a question on HR, I believe.
Good morning, everyone. My name is, or afternoon. Sorry, I'm kind of late in the day here.
It's tomorrow.
My name is Belinda Rollhorse. Tall Hanan Smith, the Ani Bashashchi, Kabaha Dashachi, and Sitnajini Dashanan. And I'm originally from Crystal. So, welcome everyone, board chairman. And I'm covering Terry's report. Is that what you want? Let's see here. Well, let's go through here. I know you have a lot of questions on human resources, and I've been here for 2 weeks on the HR director side, so I'm going to do my best for you guys, okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So if we're going through the monthly report on Terrans, let's see here. highlights on the HR department here. We continue to recruit. We've hired from last month to this month, we're at 176 temporary employees out of the 255. This month, I believe we hired 42 employees for this past month. So, and we have the information for the buyout. We have a total of 43 employees who took the buyout. So that'll fluctuate all our vacancies and those numbers there. Then of course the HR committee policy, we finally put a committee together. So we have a total of 11 employees on the committee. And we've had 2 meetings now, so we're trying to go through that. Hopefully we'll be able to present the policy by July. I believe that's the date that everyone's looking at, okay? IT, they're finalizing the full transition of the Fort Defiance and oversight. IT has completed the procurement of the data backup recovery. The HMO upgrades, 3 of the 4 New Mexico offices have been upgraded to the 1.5 megabytes. Let's see, they will have a full implementation to IT solutions that won't require VPN access. IT is working on the procurement on the software solution for the NHA, BOC, IT, and let's see here, the Bookit solution.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the procurement side, we have the procurement planning session, waste management, procurement policy revision. I believe they were taking this to the board next month in April for finalization. They have the IFB 408, the installation of the wireless key access system. That's pending final award. IFB number 412, which is modernization, Chichimbato. The bids were due on December 6th. It's pending final due diligence right now with the C. Okay. RFP number 419, design building HVACs, that's system upgrade and structure repair. Let's see, the RFP was due on 1/15, and the final cost fees review and due diligence right now on that one. Okay. RFP 416, design build a Whipwell elderly group home. That's also in review for cost fees and final due diligence. RFP number 417, design build for the Bluebird elderly, bird space. I don't know how I got Bluebird, we all use it, right, for flower. All right, let's move on. Home, that's also in final cost fees and final due diligence. Procurement has released 11 new constructions for solicitations, and the total procurement activities at the bottom, total award was 8.2 million. Indian preference was 7.3 million out of that. Navajo business was 173,000, and then for Navajo Nation tax was 574. Okay. Let's see.
574,000.
174,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
574,000.
Very nice, very nice.
Let's see here. And the next ones are just the breakdown on the awards. Okay. Records management, the records team has been working on their box transfers. They completed 171 boxes for this month. Risk management, they initiated the 2020 insurance broker service solicitations for property, auto, liability, and workers' comp. They also received 12 new claims for the month of February, and they now have a total of 23 to date for this fiscal year as of October 1st. FFMD, director has been working on completing the model activity questionnaire for the IHP. They also, FFMD, property and supply, special project director, procurement, they're working on executing the inventory control system, of course, with all the HMOs and then with the property and maintenance. Facility maintenance staff, they did 36 work orders. Facility maintenance, the electrical panel upgrade for Chinle HMO. They installed the doors and the frames at Chinle, and they worked on the Tohatchi conference room trailer. Pest control, they did 19 work orders completed, 5 NHA tenant educations, and 87 participants. Property and supply, they have 45 material requisitions were received in fields. NHA training, pest control, safety, lost time 0, property damage 1, which is a vehicle stolen but recovered with no damages, no injuries and no near misses. Any questions?
Any questions from the
my
commission?
best. Okay.
Mr. Lee.
How did they have a vehicle stolen with no damage? Was it left running or what?
My understanding, it was left running. One of the gentlemen went out there to start the vehicle, and then somebody drove off with it. But it was recovered
That's good.
with no damages.
All right.
That was never mentioned.
Yes.
Commissioner McKay.
What's the, I'm curious about the disparity between Indian Preference Award and Navajo Business Award. If you look at page 3, total purchase activity summary, 7.3 to Indian Preference and only 172 to Navajo. What other tribes are getting all our money?
Yeah, do we need a breakdown of the Indian preference?
So we can, if you'd like, we can mention that to Terry to break it down to see what the other tribes are. I think it is a good question because it is 7.3 million.
Is Sal's Native American? Because they got the children.
Who?
Sours.
I don't think so.
Southern Utah.
Oh, Wilkie is. Steve Wilkie is.
Yeah, they're Southern Utah. So that's where the money went.
They have enough money.
Yeah.
Those Southerners got enough money.
It's an official comment.
All right. Any further questions or comments?
I just have a comment.
Commissioner
You
Began.
know, I am happy to see the beautification and grounds project ready to be ready to begin. You know, I think all of our houses, and this one here, it just says NHA Administrative Facilities and Grounds. Does this mean just the offices are gonna get that project, or are we talking about within the whole subdivisions of our properties?
Madam Commissioner, it actually includes the entire subdivision. It includes parks, it includes cattle guards, road repair, drainage, runoff, fencing, roofing. We're buying a roofing machine. They're gonna re-roof a lot of the houses, so it's going to include everything.
Does this also include like how we talk about educating our tenants about guarding, doing the guarding themselves? Are we going to provide such services to where we give it back to the tenants to where they, you know, we supply them with the supplies to put flowers in, to do their trees, and, you know, just many sessions to where they could upkeep their homes, you know, looking really nice?
Commissioner, we don't have Olin Arvizo's final scope of work, but we did recommend that he buy shrubs and they hand them out to the tenants.
Mhm.
We provide paint for homeowners. Homeowners can paint their own houses. So that was in the mix, but we don't have his final scope, but we'll certainly mention that.
Okay.
Monday he's going to present his project to us and his scope of work, and I hope it's in there.
Can't wait, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further comments? Okay. Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. All right, if I can get a motion to adopt the reports, please. Review and adopt the reports.
Motion, Mr. Chair.
In a second. Motion and second to, motion by Madam Vice Chair, second by Commissioner McCabe, to review and adopt the reports. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, you have so ordered. All right, on to the fun stuff. Item number 6, review and approve resolutions. We've made those adjustments. Can I get a motion to review NHA 4874-2019?
Mr. Chair, we moved the resolutions up.
Yeah.
Number 3 to 1, number
Yep.
15 to 2.
That's 4874-2019.
487, you got it. Okay.
Number 3 is going to
Got it.
1, so
Yeah,
we're going to that
okay.
first. Just need a motion.
Motion to review, Mr. Chair.
Okay, can I get a second? Second. Okay, it's motion to review NHA 4874-2019, approving the award of a construction contract to Sowers Construction, Inc. for the modernization of projects AZ12-301, Chilchimito, Arizona, in the amount not to exceed $2,400,000.00. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. All right, we are reviewing NHA 4874-2019. I'd like to pass to Mr. Dugal, if you can explain.
Chilchimito is a modernization project that's going to include
bringing the project down to the frame, rechecking the wiring, the plumbing, and then once that's about up to specs, then we recover everything and then get it approved, and we move on to reoccupancy.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chair, just to remind me, that where's the subdivision at in Silverton?
It's just north of the housing, that home ownership.
There's homeowners up against the cliff as you're going past elementary school, and it's downhill from that across the road. There's
Okay.
like, how many units?
10 units.
10 units down there.
So it's, okay. So it's not sandstone?
No, it's not sandstone.
It's not the ones over by the
I guess that was
highway.
my real question.
Yeah. No, it's not sandstone.
Okay.
This is NHA public rentals.
Okay, public rental. Okay.
Okay.
This is program income?
No, this
No,
is
Nahasda.
Nahasda.
Public rental, yeah, PR.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
And Sowers is Indiano?
They're Indian now. They
But
have
not
a
Navajo.
96% Navajo workforce though.
96% Navajo workforce. And so by doing this, this falls into that category of the breakout of how many Navajos are being hired.
Yes, right.
Is that stated in their contract anywhere that they need X amount of percentage? Or is
No.
this by nature?
This is by nature. They've
Okay,
been
just checking.
doing that.
Typically, Mr. Chairman, when a tribe has a TERA ordinance, which is tribal employment rights, they put those into the contract. Got to comply with TERA ordinance, and that ordinance is usually 65% local. So
Okay.
we don't have a TERA ordinance at this tribe.
All right, just one quick comment, I think, if I can find it fast enough, we had a breakdown, this is for the council delegates that are here with us and any other leaders. The amount of Navajos being hired with these particular contracts, like, what page was that on, you guys remember?
Oh, that was back underneath. That was under,
No, it's not. It's in the.
632.
632.
The first quarter, 537 in the second quarter.
And is that, do we add those together, or is it just fluctuate?
it does by quarter, so.
Okay,
Approximately $55 million worth of tribal labor
Okay.
or wages.
so I think that's very interesting to point out that we're putting Navajo people to work with these contracts, and at this point, 96% of their workforce for these things are going to stay in the community with Navajos. So,
Okay.
is that, you get add on?
I don't know, but I won't argue.
Okay,
It's good that they're hiring. now.
yeah. Go ahead.
So Sowers doesn't have Indian preference?
They do have
They
Indian
do.
preference.
I wish Terry could have squeezed it in on that line there, because when I looked at that, that was a question I had. They're the only one that doesn't have Indian preference on there. But they won the award.
No, they're Indian preference.
Now, when you read the selection sheet, on the far right-hand side, comments, it says responsive and responsible, but it doesn't, they just fail to put Indian preference on there also. But when
I guess if you look at the comments section, they put it in there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when I read into the documentation, I just saw that they were Indian preference, so it's just,
They're the only ones that don't have it. I'll check on that.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that she should just put it here because everybody else has Indian preference.
Oh, I see. So it's, responsive Indian preference, responsive and responsible, we should have said Indian preference as well.
Got room for
Okay.
Yeah.
two lines you could put.
Yeah. I get that. Good catch, good catch.
It says they're 51%.
How confident are we that they have Indian
96%.
preference?
We're very confident.
Okay, all right. If you can just make sure you go back and document that we pointed that out, and that's, we're believing that that's what that is.
Cut her
It's right in the contract, line number 6.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's.
51%.
All right, good. All right, any other further questions, Madam Vice Chair?
Mr. Chair, just a comment about procurement in terms of, Sowers has been working for NHA for quite a long time, and I'm sure that they have a report card with us. And if they didn't, so if, say they didn't do good work, and that report card is generated to say that, and hopefully that if there is something like that, that it's included in the evaluation process. Yes. That we got to be sure to document poor performance, you know, all of those negative factors, but also reward good performance.
Madam Vice Chair, it's actually even more than that. If they hadn't worked for us before, we still get comments from other employees that work for the tribe, that work for IHS. So
Okay.
we do go out and report the wrong interview reports.
By this particular
By any
bidder,
bidder.
by any bidder, okay. But I think NHA itself having
Yeah.
the record so that we, because you look at the bids here, they're pretty close, and they're probably gonna get closer, so what differentiates one from the other is probably performance history.
In this particular case, it was performance history
Okay.
because the other close bidder was responsible for the Cayenta HMO.
Yeah,
So we felt that they needed to fix that before they continued.
yeah, okay, all right.
Any further questions or comments?
I have one. So, in a project like this, you only get Indian preference, right? Because I see 2 Navajo firms on here that got B. So Navajos don't get an extra something?
Not in the current procurement policy that we have, it's just Indian preference.
And Commissioner, that's about to change. We're changing it from Indian preference to Navajo preference, which will give Navajo an extra category above regular other federally recognized tribes and then non-federally recognized.
Well, that's something that, so we've been talking about the procurement policy change for a while now, actually the last several board meetings.
Yeah.
As we're getting ready to phase into that, how soon do you expect to see the numbers of Indian preference to the contracts awarded for Navajo? And how, I know that I'm talking about some of this for the benefit of the people watching at home or those things, but I think it's important to point out that we're trying to make it easier for bonding, for as NHA trying to be the general contractor and breaking up projects so more Navajo entrepreneurship can happen, more Navajo firms can be awarded based on the history of seeing smaller firms not being able to compete because they couldn't get the bonding requirement. Can you talk to that briefly?
Mr. Chairman, if the council delegates, several of them asked what can they do to help NHA. This would be one area. If they could push for the Navajo preference legislation as opposed to Indian preference, we'd certainly have a lot more opportunities. The other things we need to look at, we need to work with our Navajo contracts to find out what the barriers are, and one of them we've heard is bonding requirements, financial records, things like that, which we could revamp or revise for Navajo contractors, perhaps leave them in place for the greater community, but for Navajo contractors we can look at changing our policies to allow for more openness within our contracting community. There are resolutions today that speak to that speak to lowering the bonding or not having a bond but having a higher retention in lieu of bond. So the things we can do to be proactive to assist Navajo contractors, but I think the legislation is a key component of that.
Thank you.
Because we also didn't select the lowest price. Is there a reason for that?
The lowest price, Commissioner, was a contractor that we have a warranty issue with, outstanding warranty.
You're right.
Cayenta HMO needs to be fixed before that contractor can continue working with us.
You're right. I figured, yeah.
Okay. Any additional comments or questions?
Chair, I just wanted to add on to that. One of the things we're doing with our maintenance, or those contracts that we're working on, is we've split our projects up into smaller groups so the dollar amount is smaller so that some of these other Navajo contractors aren't bumping up against those higher requirements, so.
Good job.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you put it into an official policy or what, but I mean, I'm looking at the bid amounts, and one Navajo firm's pretty close to what got awarded.
Yeah.
So I just kind of have to ask the question, why not the Navajo? I don't want to throw a wrench in anything. We got to ask ourselves, why not the Navajo?
We certainly don't have to go with lowest bidder. We can go with the lowest responsive bidder. And that could be, based on our emphasis on Navajo business, we could say the lowest, Navajo bidder if they're within 10%, 20% of the low bidder. We can certainly do that.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating. We, as an organization, we have to ask ourselves that question. If it's that close, why not the Navajo?
Yeah.
Just a comment.
I think that'd be good to pull back to your team as we're going forward. Obviously, they're finishing up the procurement side, to talk to everybody on the team and just say, hey, what is the best route forward? Obviously, we know that we'd like to have Navajo preference at the top, but there's also some...
Can we shelve this resolution and address those questions and come back next month?
What?
Nope.
No, I think we should go forward, but I think that, because we're going to continue to have more contracts, that's not necessarily the issue with this. I think that, we just want to make sure we're emphasizing that this is the change we'd like to see going forward. Obviously, we've been emphasizing this because this is not a new subject for us, but those kind of little small tweaks I think would be helpful to look at and see if they're feasible.
I mean, I understand, issues or non-responsive or past performance, but if you got two that are right here, and even if the Navajo's a little bit, you got to ask yourself, why not the Navajo?
I agree.
That's just us.
Sure.
So, one last question. I'm wondering, the panel review, did we outsource that review, or is this all in-house? Because I know that there were some
review, it's just
issues with that.
It's just a due diligence.
So this was done in-house. It was not outsourced.
Okay. But previous solicitations were, right, in the review of...
This was an IFB.
Right, so the only one we outsourced was the Window Rock Apartments, because that was not based on a design, it was based on selecting a developer, not a design build type of contract. But that was the only one, Window Rock.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, if I can get a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's motion by Madam Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Begay to adopt Resolution NHA 4874-2019. All in favor, say aye.
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 I'll abstain.
Okay, those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, do have it so ordered, with Commissioner McCabe abstaining. On to the second resolution, NHA 4886-2019, ratifying and approving the NHA's purchase of the Lexington Hotel in Gallup, New Mexico. Let's see. Can I get a motion to approve?
What number is it, Mr. Chair?
It's number 15 on the newest. It's 4886 to review. Motion to review.
Motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's motion by Madam Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner McCabe to review NHA 4886-2019. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, you have it so ordered. We're on NHA 4886-2019. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, the Lexington Hotel was a sub-recipient grant awarded to Care 66. We spent $1 million on that project some years ago. The nonprofit Care 66 used it as a homeless shelter. They also own the Hogan Hozier. They went into bankruptcy and have put these buildings up for sale. The tribe did buy back Hogan Hozier. Lexington Hotel, we have a problem. We never signed the LURA in time. So we have one now, it's in place, but there is an opportunity for us to get the building back into work with Rehoboth McKinley Hospital to have it as a drug and alcohol housing facility. And we have a letter of intent from them, and we have a commitment from them to take the building and turn it into drug and alcohol transition housing. So when someone finishes treatment, they have a place to stay before they transition. If we do not purchase back the building because of the failed subrecipient and because the building being up for sale, we could end up paying HUD back the funds that we put into it, which is the $1 million. So either way, we're probably going to end up paying on this building. So our sense was to buy it back and turn it into something productive for the Navajo community, which would be transitional housing.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Madam Vice Chair.
So what is the state of the facility?
Madam Vice Chair, the facility is, they have a caretaker who's living there. It's in good shape. We toured, looked at the kitchen, looked at the building itself. It's in good shape. They may have to do upgrades in terms of sprinkler. I'm not sure it has the necessary capacity, but that would be up to the operator to do. So our agreement with Rehoboth is any repairs or any maintenance they would have to take care of.
Mr. Chair, so are they renting from NHA after the
Madam Vice Chair, the negotiation was that they would get the facility with a LURA, a land use restriction, and it would be made available to first come, first serve, which would be Navajo first, and then other clients if they couldn't fill up the facility. They believe they have 76 clients at their facility, which is the old hospital, and they think they have 70% of those are Navajos. They have more than enough clients to make it 100% Navajo facility. So that would be our agreement, is that they would have to stick to that use.
Mr. Chair, I guess, clarifying the question, are they paying us for use of the facility and to operate and provide those services?
We haven't done a lease yet, but the anticipation was that we would provide the facility free of charge to them. They would operate and maintain it.
And the duration?
LURA is typically 20 years, but
20 years?
But because it's a lease facility, we would always own it.
Chairman?
Commissioner Lee.
I've got, I think this needs to be rewritten. There's some areas here that just seem vague to me. Number 6, 3 lines up from the bottom, it says NHA's approval. There's got to be, I mean, what is that, NHA's approval? NHA CEO's approval? It just needs more definition on whose approval at NHA was getting on that.
Is that under the whereas, Commissioner Lee, or are you talking about under the purchase agreement?
First page under whereas, number 6, last sentence. It's 3rd line up from the bottom. NHA's approval and acceptance of such due diligence reviews. I think there's somebody specifically within NHA would do the approval and acceptance. Throughout the rest of 6, I mean, we got more exactness. NHA's Board of Commissioners, NHA's property is doing the due diligence review. And just who exactly does the approval and acceptance of the due diligence? Is it NHA property that does that? And then on the second page, C, paragraph C, it says directs and authorizes the NHA Chief Executive Officer or his delegatee. I think that needs to stay